If you were to draft an all-time sports writing team and you got to the NFL, you'd have to take a hard look at Peter King with your first-round pick, and you'd probably take him. From Sports Illustrated to NBC to so many TV and radio spots in between, King has had one of the great sports writing careers in history. So it's our pleasure to bring in Peter King as the main event. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Happy to do it. Thanks a lot for having me, Andrew.
So before we get into Peter's career, some of the players he enjoyed talking to the most, how he got access, and everything else, Peter King, to remind you, we're sponsored by WSC Sports. If you're a network, you're a team, you're a league, publishers integrate live video and highlights from the world's top leagues and teams, providing new content experience for users. If you're a rights holder, turn monetization on automatic and help new fans discover your content. Ask about WSC Sports Discovery Network Solutions. Just Google WSC Sports, right-hand corner, yellow button. Tell them Marchand sent you. We're available twice a week at andrewmarchand.com to subscribe Tuesdays and Thursdays. Great podcast on sports media we try to provide. Peter, let's start with you. Growing up, what does Peter King want to do? What kind of athlete are you? What are you thinking about as you're developing in what turns out to be one of the great sports writing careers ever?
Well, you're very nice to say that, Andrew, and thank you. I grew up in Enfield, Connecticut, and all I wanted to do early on was succeed Carl Yastrzemski as the left fielder of the Boston Red Sox. Once I found out that I was only a high school player and got cut from my college baseball team, I kind of switched gears. I mean, look, I knew that I wasn't going to be good enough to do that. And I always had a plan B, starting at about age 11 or 12. And I thought, wow, how fun would being a sports writer be? And then I think what the biggest influence, like when I was in high school, the biggest influence was Peter Gammons. I started getting, my father and I went out and bought the newspapers every Sunday. And I don't know, maybe I was a sophomore or junior in high school and the Globe hired him and he started writing that baseball notes column. And I said, I want to know something as well as Peter Gammons knows baseball. And luckily I got to tell him that a few years ago. I met him and told him how influential he was with me. That's really what I wanted to do. But Andrew, you got to remember, that's around the time of Watergate. My first soccer practice in my senior year in 1974 in Enfield, Connecticut, is the night that Richard Nixon resigned the presidency because of all the stuff that Watergate did. And I got totally enamored with journalism. And I went to Ohio University. I never wrote sports there at Ohio U, never. And so basically, I thought I'd be covering the State House in Columbus or, wherever, somewhere in the United States. I was really into politics. But the first real job offer I got out of college after a bunch of internships was as a general assignment sports guy at the Cincinnati Enquirer. And that's how it started.
Peter Gammons' notes column, there's a younger generation that probably just knows him from ESPN, but that was legendary, not only because of how much information was in there, but how long it was, which perhaps we'll get into this maybe a little later. Your Monday Morning Quarterback was not a brevity column. So was that inspired by Peter? But we get into that a little bit later, but that was what he was known for. And really kind of the first, I think, Peter Vesey, some others did it, but I think a little bit later. But Gammons was kind of the first, I believe, really doing that long notes column.
When I got hired by SI in 1989, they asked me to write the Inside the NFL column. And I just thought the day I got hired, I said, if I do this every week until they put me in the ground, I'll die a happy man. Everybody, it's like broadcasters, high school kids now or college kids now grow up and want to be Stephen A. 20 years ago, everybody grew up and wanted to be Mike or the Mad Dog. So it's the influences you have as a young person really end up kind of maybe not dictating, but having a huge influence on what you want to do for your career.
100%. I want to get deeper into that. If you want to hear the whole podcast, go to andrewmarchand.com, andrewmarchand.com to become a full-time subscriber.